Welcome back to Love, Life, and Legacy, the podcast dedicated to helping you navigate these hypersexualized times of ours. And in today's episode, Benji, Sammy, and myself want to thank you. We want to stop and thank a bunch of people. And here's the tricky thing about this. We want to show everybody that we love you all, but we cannot do that due to time and space. But we want to start the process at least by picking a bunch of people and just thanking the heck out of them. That was me censoring myself. And we want to do this because, to be honest, we're all very focused on building stuff at High Noon constantly, like always going wider, influencing more people, helping more people, healing more people, doing whatever we can. And oftentimes that building energy consumes us, and we don't stop to appreciate all the people that are helping us to build this whole thing, this worldwide thing. So we wanted to just stop. We wanted to focus on you. So if you hear your name, rejoice, cry, dance. And if you don't hear your name, wait. We'll get to you. But yeah, we tried to get to as many people as possible. And yeah, just by the way, thank you so much. All right, everybody. We got the all-star crew back, and welcome Sammy from the hairdresser. He looks fresh. He looks like he's taking his school pictures today, don't you think? Sammy's looking fresh.
Would you rather be show up in my pajamas or?
No, I love it. I love
put
it.
on a shirt.
Looks like you put in some effort. I like it. So first of all, how the heck are you, Sammy? Are you still alive? Is this AI you? Are you, what's going on?
I cannot compute. I'm a large learning model, and I can. Yeah, gosh. We had twins earlier this year, so I've just been hunkering down, taking care of the family, and staying on top of things, primarily working in the background. And it's been many months later, so kind of stepping out of the cave, remembering what the sunlight feels like and looks like. So thank you for welcoming me. It's nice to be back and to be able to say hi to everybody.
Yeah, Sammy had twins. I love it. I've always loved this whole idea that God had, because you love to plan things so meticulously, and then God gave you twins, which you can't plan for.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, welcome from back out of the cave. And today, everybody, Sammy and I especially, every quarter are thinking about how we can let people know how valuable they are, because when you become a certain size organization, and we're getting bigger and bigger, my God, we have chapters now, and those chapters have teams, and those teams have volunteers. So we're just kind of expanding in all directions. It's really impossible to give a personal hello and have a conversation with every single person in our organization, especially volunteers, all the people who come to our events and everything, but we want to. And so that's what we want today to be about giving people shout outs. And I also realized, but just before shooting this, that there's a lot of people. So there's no way that we can do everybody. In fact, we have to just take a small sample segment of people, shout out to them, and we'll have to do multiple of these episodes throughout. So if your name isn't called, it doesn't mean we don't love you. It means just chill. We'll get to you eventually. Today we're starting. We want to make sure that certain people feel loved, and if your name isn't called, just feel represented through them. If you can have that imagination. If not, wait, we'll get to
once
you.
in the hallway. It's
We'll
like
get to
so you're saying this is not like the movie credits at the end of a film where they've got the people who they actually want to give credits to. They'll put their name up one at a time with some cool montage going on, and then at the very end there's just the endless list of people that scroll by.
The nameless faces,
that's what we're
contributors. Exactly. No, you are all front and center. We love you, but time and space is a reality, and we don't want to do a 17-hour podcast because we've already done two 24-hour podcasts. Anyway, so Benji, in your
It was like
world,
that
you
three.
we did three. Oh my
Yeah.
god. I guess I'm traumatized. Benji, I want you
Yes.
go. Who do you want to love up? Who do you want to show some love?
Anybody, we're talking anybody that we appreciate. Is that right?
Well, to
Is
do with
that
High
right?
Noon, not
Yeah,
Santa
yeah, of
Claus,
course. Not Santa.
not your mom, not this time.
Like the
Thanks,
barista.
Grandma. Are you watching, Grandma? I always wanted to do that. I don't know why. I don't even have a grandma. I never did. Um, but I always imagined myself going on TV and saying, "Hi, Grandma, I'm on TV," or something like that. I don't know why. It's stupid. I wish I did it just so I could have a
An
story.
inside joke.
The only time I was on TV, I almost vomited because I was in a spaghetti eating contest. Terrible.
That makes sense. Not from the nerd.
All right, that's a wrap. We've given everyone the value they need.
Shout out to spaghetti eating contesters all the way.
Much Music is the Canadian MTV is amazing.
Okay.
I'll show you videos one day.
No, I have someone.
Let's go.
Okay, this is really rolling dice here, Andrew. Like, I like the real me is like I don't want to do this because I don't want people to feel left out, right? But I think, like you said, just if we can
We
appreciate.
gotta start
people-
somewhere.
Okay, Flavio,
I don't even know who
Brother.
that is.
Flavio, brother. He is a European brother from Portugal. Yeah, I'm 99% sure he's in Portugal. He can tell me later. He is a guy who worked really hard. He's a guy who found High Noon, I want to say a year ago, through meeting David Hewish in, I don't know, I think it was in Korea through the European pilgrimage thingamabobber. And Flavio gravitated towards the core program, which is because we focus on preparing for marriage and blessing and preparing for matching. And he joined, I think, quite hesitantly, and as a lot of people do for some reason when they join through High Noon. But he felt like, a marriage prep program was good. And then Flavio, brother, I'll speak to you now, Flavio. You worked hard on yourself. You shared things with me and with others that I know is not comfortable to share. That's your story to tell. And you grew through the ranks. You participated in multiple cycles of core. You became a facilitator for your own groups. And you are officially matched and have
Hey.
committed to your lovely wife to be. Beautiful. I think her name is Audrey, right, from the US. I met her very briefly in the GPA conclusion workshop where Flavio messaged me randomly on WhatsApp and says, "Hey, if you see Audrey, let her know I say hi." And I was like, "That's really random that you know this girl from America. Like, what's going on here?" I knew something was up. But he tried to play it cool. And they just announced their matching. And I would say that's a direct result of 80% Flavio working his butt off to grow. And maybe 20% or less of High Noon placing the right people in his life and the right environment and culture and community for him to connect and practice what we're talking about, which is to just be honest, have the courage to be honest, and receive grace and have accountability to be the man that you want to be, to have integrity. And that's ultimately what he did. And so super, super proud of him and anybody that really moves forward in the face of fear, right? Which is the definition of courage. And he just put himself out there and just like, hey, what the heck, I'm going to move forward. So Flavio, good for you, brother. Good for you.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy. What about you, Sammy? Who do you got?
I would give a shout out to probably no one listening even knows this person, and she's probably not even gonna listen to this podcast because she is learning English. She's pretty good, but she's one of High Noon Korea. She's got connected to High Noon in Korea. Her name is Junghwa, and is just someone that it's amazing to see how much her life has turned around because of her involvement with High Noon. Just a half Korean, half Japanese second gen who grew up in Korea, Japanese mom. There's a lot of those here in Korea. And she was like, went to college for a couple of years, then dropped out and was just not like kind of stuck dealing with depression and stuck in life, stuck at the home, just not doing anything, right, existing. and she met Hainun, and it was very inspiring for her. And she's also struggling with sexual integrity. That was her first connection point, and so she got help, um, largely from Atsue as a mentor. And she's someone that steadily and consistently put in the work and continued to grow. And then she got a lot healthier. Her relationship with her mom went from can't talk to this woman to like really close and intimate. And it's like really, it's nice to see. And then her just becoming inspired and excited about life. And also just to see the initiative that she's beginning to take. I mean, more than just going from doing stuff, but looking at, what do I want? And then what do I need to do in order to get that? So being more having ownership, right? Not just such a passive participant. And then she went back to school, finishing college. And then this happens often with me and my wife because we live in Korea. We're an internationally blessed couple, so a lot of people they are interested in international blessings. So they'll ask, so how do I find an international spouse? And the blunt answer is you just have to go. I mean, honestly, you have to go to another country and find someone because internationally the matching network is pretty weak, dismal, honestly. So you need to make your own connections and network. And so that the best way to do that is to go to another place. So her and her mom, she was interested in getting blessed internationally. And so her and her mom, they asked us about this. So we told them that exactly. It's like, I mean, honestly, you just have to go to another country and make relationships and find somebody or find someone that can help you. And then we tell that to everybody who ever asks. And, when you ever give advice to most people, what do they do, right? They're like,
Flush it down
oh,
the toilet.
yeah. So she actually did it. It was, she was like, okay, I got it. She went to, she did some inquiring and looking at like, where's their support for like a second gen who don't speak English so well, who can stay connected to the church. Maybe they speak Korean or Japanese, and they want to do some church activities and meet a lot of second gen. Where comes to mind when you hear this kind of place? For you guys, Las Vegas, of course, right? So she asking around, and so she ended up getting connected to Las Vegas Carp, and I think she stayed there at least 6 months, semester, maybe up to a year, and then she came back, and then now she's back in America again, doing some internship through some. I don't know the details, but the point, which is not, but the important thing is just she became alive again about her life and about creating an inspiring blessing. And so she's just an adorable little half Korean, half Japanese girl who is on the hunt right now. So she's serious about it. So watch out, young bachelors.
Hunting you down.
Wow. Yeah, that's really cool. She actually listened and she went for it, right? I love that. I love hearing about people who can get clear on what they want and then they pursue it. It's like such a basic two-step process. Find out what you want, go after it. And people are like, I don't know. That's very confusing. I just want to kind of get everything that I want without changing. Is that possible? No. That's really cool.
They just want the Uber Eats life hack delivery.
Is there some way of avoiding chewing? Could I just blend all my food? Nice.
Actually, you wanna, if you're interested.
Actually,
Oh man. For my guy, I want to go back. I want to go back in time and place that predates even Hainun itself, a place where we didn't understand the irony of having the initials PMO as our organizational acronym, Pure Mind Online. And back then we had a guy that we could not keep away, even with our best efforts. He kept on coming back. I don't know if you guys have heard this song. It's like a kid's song. It was about the cat came back. You guys know? The cat came back the very next day. It was about a guy who tried to get rid of a cat, but it just kept on coming back. And I think in the end, he ended up falling in love with him. But that's this next guy is Pierre Beauregard. Because Pierre is so intense. And in the beginning, it was really hard for us to understand what to do with all of this energy because he's like, hey, you know what you should do? You know what you should do? And in the beginning, you're like, God, I'm trying. We're trying, we're trying to catch up. But I honestly feel like God works through Pierre so much because he's always showing us our weak points by not just like criticizing us. A lot of times he has really good suggestions as well, but definitely including like, hey, you guys, all grammar mistakes that I've ever made in an email or something, he will let me know. And it's just to help us keep our integrity and keep our standards at the highest level. And Pierre's been our guy since the very beginning. And I feel like that sounded like a backhanded compliment, but I want to stop for a second and just say, Pierre, we are really in your debt in many ways for very kind of practical reasons in terms of like always reminding us when we make mistakes, and we need that feedback. We really do. And we don't get that. We've been asking for it. We don't often get it. So you've been helping us to keep our nose clean, like a mom who, when I don't know if you've ever seen a mom do this, but they like lick their thumb and wipe off the mustard on a kid's face or whatever, like residue is on their face from lunch. Pierre's been that for High Noon. But more importantly than even that is he's been a mentor to so many dudes and brought so many guys into a place of sexual integrity. In many ways, been the primary kind of source of healing in a lot of guys' life and in their families and their marriage. Like this is all from one dude. He has many disciples, let's just say. That's why I understood this term the first, to have a High Noon disciple, is like, because Pierre has a bunch of guys that are still around and are now even facilitators because of him, right? So I want to give a big old shout out to Pierre. And I've even been to his house. He made my family dinner. Well, his wife did, but he warmed the atmosphere with his bright smile and his French humor. And I definitely feel very much like he's a family member for sure. So thank you so much, Pierre, for all that you do. Appreciate you. I know we all do. You're famous in the High Noon world because you've helped a lot of people. He's also been a mentor for a lot of younger guys too. He's always been down for helping people. And he's a great husband too. He's overcome a lot in his life, and it's to help other people. And he's got a heart of gold. He is one of the easiest cries I've ever seen. When he sees something that's really beautiful and really heavenly, he'll cry every time. He's got that beautiful French passion.
Is there a significant difference between the French and the French Canadian?
Yeah, it's got more gravy on the heart, which means it's that much more savory. Yeah.
Yeah. Man.
That's a poutine reference for anybody out there. Benji, what you got?
I know poutine. I know poutine. I like some poutine, man.
Nice.
All right. I don't know why that sounded sexual.
No, wasn't thinking that at all.
Well, I wanted to make it sound sexual. Gotta be some poutine. Thank you, Pierre. God bless you, man. This is interesting. There's like people that have impacted High Noon. There's people I personally appreciate. This person, I'm trying to think, like, first thing comes to mind, is like my wife for sure. We could probably do a whole episode on that, right? But just quick shout out to her for just being awesome. I guess I just shared this with Andrew, so I'll say it right here just to like take it home a bit. We're doing some training with Gene Honeycutt of like going really deep into our childhood wounds and traumas and stories, and learning how to share our stories, but also learning how to engage people's short stories, which means how to go into them, ask the right questions, and lean into it, and really help them heal and recover through listening to their short stories, right? And so today was my chance to share my story with our group, some of our High Noon staff, right? And I was sharing, well, just, I guess it's okay if everyone knows, it's me and Gene and Robert Cunningham and Andy Pock. Shout out to Andy, our newest full-time staff member, and Andranik, right, your European chapter leader. And so I was sharing my story. I was sharing a particular story that I'm not going to share now. It's, I didn't think it was so weighted, but apparently it was a lot heavier than I thought, right, when I was sharing it. And it was, I guess basically it was the first time I, talked to my dad about sexual things, right? And basically got caught. And it was really like a feeling of just dread and like my heart was sinking, or more, it was my heart was going to shoot out of my throat. Like I was going to vomit my heart. That's kind of like the feeling. And then I was sharing the story with the guys. It was very, of course, healing, cathartic. What's the word?
Cathartic.
I don't know why it sounds weird when I say it. Cathartic.
Coffee dick.
Yes. And so I was like, I came home and I was like, you know what? I should share this with my wife. I should read my letter, my story to my wife, right? And so I took her out back behind her house and made her sit down on her porch. And she's like, what is this? And I was like, just listen to my story. Like, I want to share this because it was really impactful sharing it with my group today. And so I read her this story and I got emotional while I was reading it. And then I asked her, like, what came up for you when I was sharing the story? Like, what emotions did you feel? How did your body feel? And this kind of stuff. And she went straight to the heart of it. She said, you sounded really alone.
If you are struggling to break free from porn and masturbation and you really hate this behavior, then don't skip this part, guys. Ascend is open for you guys. Ascend is our program for sexual integrity training. We have groups of men and women separated by gender. We have mentors to help guide you through the process of having sexual integrity through quitting porn and masturbation, unwanted sexual behaviors and thoughts. So if that's you, go to highnoon.org and you can join our program right here, right now, today, my friends. All right, say yeah.
At that time in your life, right? And I was like, that's quite a gem of a woman for someone to really look past the mistakes or the masturbating or the porn and just be like, you were really alone. It sounds like you're really a lonely kid at that time in your life. And that really like shook me out. Thank you. Like, you went straight to it. And she didn't have any like, it's just fascinating. I was telling Andrew earlier, it was like fascinating that she didn't have any curiosity of like about my experiences or anything like that. She was like, okay, thanks for sharing. It was just, that was it. And then she went inside and she started making dinner and for the kids. I was like, Jesus, like that's so interesting to me, that to have a wife that's just like that. Really, it's very healing actually, because I'm very heavy and very serious about stuff like this. And to have a wife who's just like, yeah, like sounds hard, and then move on with life, you know? So shout out to her. I wasn't planning to do a shout out to her, but definitely shout out to her. If I can just add another one right here while we're here.
Sure, buddy.
Anything
for you, Benji.
And then we'll go pass it on to Sammy. Just someone that's I know is listening, because Peter is not listening to this. I would say shout out to Ravi, if you're listening to this, our Filipino brother. I want to shout out to him because because I was a mentor for him for a bit. I've never mentored someone that took to heart my advice so much. All right. And I remember the piece of advice I gave him because he was talking about his blessing, like his relation with his wife. And I was like, you know what? Men need men and women need women. That's it. That's like solves almost all problems. Not problems, but like marital conflict. It's like men need more men in our lives and women need women. And I just said that to him and he took it really serious. He took it to heart and he took it as an assignment. And he came back like the next call we had and he was sharing about his experience with all the brothers that he's been hanging out with, right, in his area. And I was like, that's awesome. Like, good for you, dude. Like, working hard. And I guess similar to Sammy's sharing, is like when people really take to heart simple piece of advice and they run with it, that's really like, that deserves a lot of shout out in my opinion, just because it shows the amount of effort that people are willing to make. So cool.
Yeah, nice. So basically you guys are giving shout out to anybody who listens to your advice. I see what's going on here. Shout out for respecting my genius advice.
Yeah, because you
Here's
know
the thing,
genius
though.
when you say it.
That particular piece of advice is common sense. Men need women. Men need men. Jesus. All right. This could be spliced in a very like dramatic way. Like, men need men and women need women. Like that's But when you say that and you break it down to people that are going through this and like in marriage and all they have is each other, you're like, oh my gosh, like I definitely need more men. You're right. And then they do it. It's life changing stuff. But it is simple. It's not advice. It's just common sense, you know?
Sure. Yeah, I agree. I agree. There's certain things like a lot of the games that my boys play end up in them just wrestling with each other. And it's because there's a certain amount of energy that they have that has to come out in that way. Otherwise, something weird happens. That's my issue with schools is they don't give any space for that to happen. 15-minute recess sometimes, right? But even last night, my my youngest son, they were playing a game where he's pretending to be a little old lady. He put a blanket over his head, and the game devolved into my middle son would take my youngest son, who's pretending to be an old lady, and throw him on the couch, just like sucking him, like beating him up, and like, oh, I'm a little old lady, and he'd throw him, and like it's just like we have this energy that has no other forum other than with other dudes, right? And that can be sports, but it's also when I tried to organize. This is just to kind of emphasize your point here, is that when I was trying to organize men sharing formally when I was living in Denver, it was the hardest sell. And in fact, many people didn't even respond to my email because I got all that like personal. It was not like this is like an organization. It's like me emailing a bunch of guys saying, hey, let's go and hang out, talk, and then we can go do something. Nobody responded to the affirmative. And most people didn't respond at all. But then when I was like, yo, who wants to go play basketball? Then the game was we would play basketball until we were exhausted. Then we went to a hot tub, and that's where all the juicy conversations happened. And it just happened naturally because we exhausted ourselves physically first, and then the emotions could bubble up. And I'm not saying that that's like a blanket, I don't know, state or process that applies to all guys, but there does seem to be a need for us to physically exert ourselves in order to then share, and then maybe in different orders, right, or different combinations or whatever. But it was like when I tried to force it to happen, like guys sharing, it would not happen. But if you just gathered guys, it would eventually happen naturally if you let it happen. So I hear what you're saying. Good advice. Back to shout outs. Sammy.
So we are looking out for whoever's going to follow Andrew's advice so he can have his golden child for the next shout out. All right. So let us know, people.
Yeah. That's how you get on this podcast.
I'll shotgun two. They're simple, nice ones. One is I want to shout out Sarah Brown out in California, I think the Bay Area somewhere. She's now working, I think, as a licensed counselor or a licensed therapist, something of that ilk. And my shout out for her is she's not been involved directly in High Noon in any way. She's been one of our largest donors for a long time. Her and her husband, I suppose, I would say. And just someone that's been very quietly supporting us financially in a very significant way. And I connected with her one time just to ask her, so, you've never directly participated or benefited from High Noon in any way, so what inspired you to donate and see? And it was very undramatic. She's like, oh, you guys are doing great work. I just want to help out.
Amazing.
It's not, it's very non-dramatic, not attached to some significant origin story or anything. And it's just, when I see people doing good stuff, I want to support it how I can. So shout out to Sarah.
Booyah.
Just very quietly being more than a fan, what would you call it? A supporter, I suppose. And then another shout out to My Thurston. Right, just that is a wild, not what interesting. I say it's not. I don't think My does wild. Interesting story of how she got connected to High Noon, right? And she went, she went from evolved, full evolution, final stage, right? She went all the way from humble participant to leading our programs and being significantly involved in our women's support for Ascend. And it all started because in one of our newsletters, and a little tiny sentence at the very bottom, no fun pictures or anything. It just said, "Oh, by the way, High Noon is coming to speak at Camp One Heart this date during the summer. We were invited, so I went to give a couple lectures." And then she saw that little sentence and took like a 4-hour bus to, and she coordinated everything herself. And she contacted me and she's like, "Hey, that's so exciting. I want to come to support. I can give a testimony, whatever you like." And so she figured out her whole transportation, which is really complicated because America is not known for its robust public transportation network. And Camp One Heart is like camp in the, you see bears kind of place, right, middle of nowhere. And she came and she helped. She rocked people's world. She's like one of the, not the first, one of the first women who would publicly share that, yeah, like I struggled with porn and masturbation, and this is my journey, and here's where I am now. And it was so cathartic for a lot of the women to have a voice who were participating, and humbling for the men to see some of the unseen impact of what this world does. It's just not something that that's this non-real internet thing that I struggle with occasionally. And yeah, I know it's not good, but I just fall into it once in a while. But it's like, wow, there's like people, even my sisters I really care about, this is really affecting them deeply. Right. And so starting with that, it was like, I had no idea who this woman named Maya Thurston was before she reached out to connect, and we met at this workshop, and then she was involved from then. And like I already mentioned, evolved into playing such an important role in developing High Noon's programs. And she's also currently she's a licensed therapist, and she did all her schooling and all her apprenticeship, or whatever the proper terminology is. But she's grown a lot in significant ways and is continuing to help people. Shout out to Mai.
Thank you. Yeah, she's gangster. She's been there from the beginning as well. She's been on our website because that was one of the few good pictures that we had of her and a few other people at the first High Noon workshops. She's definitely been there since the beginning. Great. I want to take it back to another oldie but goodie as well with Josh Fontaine, because old Joshy boy had quite the story arc himself, right? This shy little Canadian man who is like a real fighter. He's such a fighter, right? That he had a lot of opposition in terms of forces coming at him. He wanted to be somebody that he could kind of slowly start to envision himself. Like, I want to be this kind of person. But there's a lot of resistance in him. And it took a lot of effort for him to have breakthroughs in his own life, right? In terms of his own sexual integrity. But then, lo and behold, this guy ended up being a tour de force, because then he brings his whole family into this world, right? His sister, his brother, his parents. We had a whole podcast with his entire family, and it was all because of him. He was the pioneer in his family, and he's the middle child, right? Which usually is the unsung hero of the family that gets no attention. Yet he was the guy he was the evangelist who brought all these people into the High Noon world. And now he's married in Hawaii. So he's from a part of Canada that is frigid, like it's outside of the city of Toronto, and it's very suburban, very unexotic. I mean, if you see a tree, it's not a tree that you would look twice at. You're like, oh, there's a tree. And now he's living in Hawaii with the love of his life. So obviously he's reaping the spoils of his hard work. So shout out to Josh. Not that we need to give you a shout out, because God is clearly shouting you out by giving you a beautiful wife in Hawaii, of all places. But just in case you want to hear it, big shout out to you, Joshy boy.
Hey, thanks, Josh.
Yeah, he's always been there. He was our yes man for many years. Like, now that he's married, sometimes we lose volunteers to love. And if we're going to lose a volunteer, love is the best reason, right? But for the longest time, anything before we even finished an email, somehow he'd hack into our systems and find out we were writing an email about to ask for a volunteer for something, and he'd say yes. He'd like just hack into our computers and say yes mid sentence. He was our like our guaranteed yes for all things. And to have people like that is what you need on a foundational level when you're building an organization. He was our guy. Pierre and him is some strong Canadian blood in High Noon. Don't you guys forget that, okay? Don't you guys forget about Canada. Everybody forgets about Canada. Don't you guys forget about Canada.
All right. Cross my heart. Don't
I
feel
think
bad.
that's the sermon you need to hear, Andrew.
Yeah, I forgot
Yes.
about Canada.
So and right now, so Josh is now living in Hawaii with his wife, and odds are he's sitting on the beach when he listens to this.
yeah, just
Soaking
like
some
just
rays.
bench pressing 500 pounds. Just living the dream.
Noise. Thanks, Josh. I want to mention, let's see, Ravi's last name, just because people don't know who he is. Malaza, Ravi Malaza from the Philippines.
Oh yeah, that okay. Now I know you're talking. I mean,
Well,
does
it's
that help?
like, I don't know. I honestly, if I was like diehard High Noon podcast fan, which most of the listeners are, and then I got a shout out and they didn't say my last name, I'd be like, come on, personally, you know.
Sure.
So thank you. There's probably only one Ravi around, at least that I know. So shout out to a sister for me, sister, who has inspired me because she, to me, I go to understand women, like the true essence of women. And she's gone through her own journey of trying to understand what that means and having a healthy understanding of femininity and what that means and what is God's aspect of femininity, which we are struggling as a culture to understand. She is someone that I talk with pretty frequently, right? She is a High Noon staff. She's been on the podcast a few times. I'm talking about
True Mother?
Araceli. Araceli.
Nice.
And I know how she's feeling, even if as I speak these words, right? No, yeah. Well, I shout out to her because she, yeah, I think she embodies something. She's, by the way, our new women's program coordinator, right? And so she has really brought a lot of value to women as a mentor, as a facilitator, as a point of wisdom. And I think she has so much more to give to this world, right? To men and women. And I think that there's a lot of like really deep potential that I see with her. And I've just really appreciated our conversations. We used to have meetings every week between her and I, one-on-one meetings, because I was the programs director for the last year, before Andy Pock became the programs director. And so Araceli and I were meeting every week, and we would just chat, like chit chat for an hour about life and masculinity, femininity, about God and things that we've learned and things that we've grown through. And I just really valued those conversations. And then we turned a few of them into podcasts right here on this podcast. So thank you to Araceli and everyone else that especially women that I don't have the privilege to talk to, that have really truly understood what it means to be a woman and are proud of that in a very genuine way. Yeah.
The question, though, is did Araceli follow your advice?
What?
No.
Oh, did she
Nothing.
follow me? Actually, well, that's her. That's her story to tell. Maybe not.
Cool. Sam, you got anybody else for this episode?
Yeah, let's do it. I'd like to shout out to Leighton and Crescentia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just I think it's nice to go back to the OGs, right? Because they're people that anyone involved with High Noon, that they benefit off of the shoulders that they stand on, and the ground that was laid before them. And more often than not, we don't know the names of the people who laid that ground. And then there are many, right? And Crescentia and Lane are just one of those many. But I like to give them a shout out. They're before High Noon was High Noon. It was the Blessed Marriage Project, and Leighton and Crescentia were one of the key couples for that ministry. And then through the transition. And then when High Noon became involved, existed, then just diehard fan or supporters. Fans is such a passive word, and supporters is a also kind of a generic word. Whatever is just someone that is like they beat their fist on their chest and they beat their fists on the podium, shouting and declaring the value of and the benefit of High Noon. And that's Crescentia. Literally, she would
I remember
give
that.
sermons and have her fist banging on the podium, being like, "This is what the world needs." And just, they've got a full family, and then the things that they were willing to do and to support and participate, like they took last minute, they drove from New Jersey area to Chicago overnight because they were supposed to come for an event. Flights got delayed and then canceled, and then so just scrambling to figure out some way to show up, and they ended up driving the whole way, which is, gosh,
Gnarly.
it's like
Yeah.
like 9-10 hours, something like that, right? No ego, just they care about people, right? And they care about people, like organizations and people who are doing something to help others. And so they saw High Noon as that, and so they gave it their full support, and just really incredible people.
Yeah. Big shout out to them. Cool. I think there's a lot of people. We'll find different ways to appreciate people. This is one, right? Is with words. Hopefully, I guess we don't know everybody's love language, so it'd be nice if we did know everybody in all of High Noon's love language, so we could give shout outs to the people whose love language is, words of affirmation. And otherwise we'd go on a hugging tour for all the people who love touch. But I hope this is meaningful. We just, we're very humbled by the fact that we are nothing without our volunteers. We are nothing without our facilitators. I really put this together this past week in a conversation with somebody else, that High Noon's greatest impact that we could make in somebody's life is through our programs. And our programs are run largely by volunteers who facilitate and who mentor. So we are completely, in many ways, reliant upon our volunteers, our facilitators, our mentors, people chipping in. And we hope that we can inculcate a culture of gratitude and showing that we need you, but sometimes we get busy in the building mode. So we just wanted to stop and say thank you, to everybody. And we hope that these people represented different demographics and different segments of our culture. But if your name wasn't called, email us and we'll customize a thank you to you. If not, then just hold on and we'll find a way to get to everybody in some way, shape, or fashion. We want to be an organization that lets you know that we really do appreciate you. You guys have any last words? Ben, Sam? I hear a lot of mouths.
Appreciate you guys, Andrew and Sammy. And I know that there's a sector of people that are gonna feel like we're just fishing for compliments by doing this.
What? No way.
Yes, it's okay.
We get more than enough. I definitely feel whenever somebody comes up to me and they say thank you for whatever, my immediate and overwhelming response is like, oh my God, no, thank you. Because it's so cool that somebody could be in a state where they could thank us, right? So we just want to put the thank yous out there for you guys. We get enough praise or thanks or whatever. Even just one is enough to fuel us for a long, long time. So we're good. If you guys can maybe pay this forward and thank somebody else in your life. Gratitude is definitely a massive bridge towards a healthy life. So we want to show you that we are grateful to you. If you could tell somebody in your life that you're grateful to them, it makes a big difference. Just text somebody, a relative, a friend, let them know that they've helped you in your life,
And send them
good
this
practice.
episode. Send somebody you love and appreciate this episode. All right?
That's marketing Benji, not human Benji.
And if you do, we have an affiliate link where you can also receive an appreciation.
So we can
Five
share the
gratitudes.
appreciation. Okay.
All right.
Thank you for listening. Also, that's how I feel when people, say thank you to me. I just say thank you for listening, like for being a recipient of our energy and our hearts. And
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for keeping it real and keeping it listening, and we'll talk to you sometime.
Yes.
Hey guys, this is a quick sponsorship for our main program, Ascend. We get to do sponsorships, right? We're a nonprofit. We don't do any advertising, but our free program, Ascend, is just for you guys and gals who want to have sexual integrity. You're tired of the porn and masturbation cycle and you want to break free from these shadows and this shame. So join us at highnoon.org to join the sexual integrity program called Ascend. We have groups, we have mentors, we have everything you need to succeed. All right? Join us at highnoon.org and I'll see you on the inside.